What prepared you for this job? You mentioned the weight of the world. Black women generally carry the weight of the world. What prepared you for this?
Yeah, it's definitely the definition of Black women and what we have to do, and throughout, not just throughout the throughout decades and decades, in either leading movements or being part of a movement, and so that's certainly true. But it is a struggle. It is a struggle every day, and we make it through.
Well, we had Congressman Benny Thompson on our program last week, and he emphatically said that President Biden has done more for the black community than any president in history.
I agree.
They're going to put you all back in chains.
You made and we took notice of your post on Instagram about the first black reporter in the briefing room.
Yeah.
How important is it that black voices are heard in that briefing room? I know April is there a lot, but outside of April, it's kind of hard to get representation.
Yeah, and that's first of all, that story is a tremendous, important story that needed to be told, and I was happy that I was included in that story. Ibram, who did anti-racist, how to be an
Yes.
anti-racist, he actually posted that and told this beautiful story about the first Black reporter and what he had to go through, and just to walk into the briefing room and ask a question. Ibram.
They want every black American to be as ignorant as Clarence Thomas.
Ibram.
You talked about the importance of defining racism, but unless I missed it, which is possible, I didn't hear your personal definition. Is there one that you would offer us? Like, how do you define racism?
Sure. So racism, I would define it as a collection of racist policies that lead to racial inequity that are substantiated by racist ideas. Sure. A collection of racist policies that lead to racial inequity that are substantiated by racist ideas. And anti-racism is pretty simple, using the same terms. Anti-racism is a collection of anti-racist policies leading to racial, anybody want to take a guess? Equity that are substantiated by anti-racist ideas.
Here, the anti-racism movement, activist Ibram X Kendi already laid off half his staff earlier this month. But now BU's official inquiry is putting Kendi's entire operation under scrutiny. So this research center received tens of millions of dollars in donations, Chris, but only produced 2 original research papers. Saida Grundy, who is a Boston University sociology professor who is affiliated with the center, said, quote, commensurate to the amount of cash and donations taken in, the outputs were minuscule. So a lot of people are wondering, where'd all that money go?
Well, this is a part of a pattern that we saw in 2020. You saw record donations to groups like Black Lives Matter, to groups like Ibram Kendi's so-called anti-racism center. And now fast forward 3 years, what we've seen is that the BLM organization, the leaders looted it. They headed for the hills. They decamped to their mansions and left the organization in shambles. And now we have Ibram Kendi's anti-racism center. This is really the most spectacular academic failure in many years. They hoovered up $40+ million, produced almost no research. Even a single research scholar could produce more than 2 papers in 2 or 3 years. This is really what's at the heart of this movement. It's empty. It's nihilistic. It has nothing of substance. It's all about taking in cash, producing nothing, taking personal paychecks in many cases, and then running when everything falls apart. So to me, this is a symbol of where we've come since 2020 and why that movement is really floundering today.
Ibram. And if folks have not read that story, you should. I think there are Black superheroes, if you will, who have been forgotten in history. So that story is so critical, is so important. And there's clearly a connection to me. Do we need more voices of color, black reporters in the room? Absolutely. And that's something I know the White House Correspondents Association is trying to work through and figure that out. But it is important. It is important to have diverse voices in the room. It is important to make sure communities feel like there's someone in the room that looks like them, that's asking the question of me. And of course, this is a White House. This is the Biden-Harris White House, is the most diverse White House
Proof's in the
ever.
pudding. That's just not rhetoric.
Ever, right? It's proof, as you said, Stacey, proof is in the pudding. It's not just rhetoric, because we have delivered over and over and over again. I am one example, one of many examples. One of my favorite other examples is Ketanji Brown Jackson, which, driving here, I saw a mural of her on one of the buildings, which is incredibly beautiful in DC. And you think about how she has become an icon because of who she is and how brilliant she is and what she represents to so many people across the country. And I would probably argue across the globe. And I mean, it goes on and on and on. And what we've been able to do, most Black women on appointed to federal judgeship. I mean, this is promises that have been made and kept by President Biden.
Now, I won't say who the journalist's name is, but someone said she never calls on me.
Oh.
But what's the protocol? I mean,
Okay.
you do look around, right?
I do look around, and here's the thing: I tell people, "Come see me.
Right.
Come see me.
Right.
Come make it."
Well,
come
and
to
isn't
my
that one of
office
those things?
and get to know me.
You know, many of us, yourself, myself, make it look easy.
Because what tends to happen, I call on people that I don't know, but it's always your brain, right? Just automatically. There are 50 plus people in the room.
Cool.
You're going to be like, okay, I know you. Go ahead, ask your question. Or you want to have a person. You also want to know the person that you're calling because you also want to give people like, oh, this is so-and-so. I'm calling on them now. I always tell people, we tell them all the time, if you feel that you're not being called on, it probably because I don't know
you. Yeah, Black woman who is the Black press secretary, but
I'm the White House press secretary.
The White House press secretary
who happens to be
Black.
Yeah.
The voice of the most powerful man in the world is a Black, queer, immigrant woman.
That's right. Done on purpose.
The voice of the most powerful man in the world is a Black, queer, immigrant woman.
And you ain't Black.
It's a struggle.